We're going to begin tonight with unfortunate news. I mean, in fact, it's not unfortunate news because what a weekend of football in terms of score lines, storylines. The problem with it all is the injuries have now started to happen. We've had Kalijah Cansey in the last hour. Looks like he's out for the season. We've got JJ McCarthy. Look like he's going to be missing a few weeks of players going down already. But where we are going to start with is Joe Burrow being back on IR. He injured his turf toe over the weekend in the second quarter after taking a sack, and he went off, and by the end of it was in a boot on crutches. It turns out he's going to have pretty major surgery on his toe as well. He's going to be expected to be out for 3 months now in the game against Jacksonville Jaguars. Where that happened in at 31-27. They went to win the game. Jake Browning came in, won the game. But Burrow's now out. I mean, Andrew, Jake Browning, he did well. He brought them back. He won the game with him. But this is Joe Burrow we're talking about here. Is this season over for the Cincinnati Bengals now?
I think most people would say, yes, it's over for them. But looking at their schedule and how well Jake Browning played, was it a couple of years ago when he came in and relieved Joe Burrow's injury. He looked decent, and he looks like he's a stable, good backup. They've got Minnesota next game, which don't look particularly great. No, they might look better without JJ McCarthy. They might actually work in their favor. But, he's got a couple of games to ease himself into it before he gets into the meatier stuff against Detroit and Green Bay. So it's not over because there's a lot of winnable games in that middle. And I know what we're saying is Joe Burrow potentially back December time. So, if they are in a position where they need to win the last couple of games, he might be back to help them. But yeah, back on IR again. It seems to be a common theme now. I have got a few questions for you later of why this is happening, but I don't think it's season over. I think there's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think there's 9 winnable games for them still. So on top of their 2 they've already got.
I have heard, Adam, on other podcasts coming out of America that people are quite high on Jay Browning. In particular, I think on the Richie Eisen show, they were saying that Jordan Palmer reckons that he's maybe the best backup in the league. I think that's a bit of a stretch. I think that's a massive stretch, to be honest with you. Burrow, without Burrow, they're 6-8 the whole time he's been there. I mean, Browning came in, he got 21-32 on the day, 241 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Did rush that ball in to get the pretty much the game-winning touchdown. But if it wasn't for the Jags going for it on the 4th down, would we have gone to overtime potentially? I mean, he's a good player, Jay Browning, and he looked like he's competent when he was playing in this game. But there was moments that looked like he was deer in the headlights, inexperienced, and obviously Joe Burrow is a top 3, maybe even number 1 quarterback in this league at the minute. And it all centers around it. It all centers around Joe Burrow. So is it season over in your opinion?
No, I'm kind of in agreement with Andrew, which is incredibly boring, I know. But I actually think that he's probably right. I don't feel like it is season over. Jake Browning is going to be a bit of a roller coaster, I think. And you've seen that in that game that we've just watched against the Jags. There's going to be some really good points and there's going to be some negative points. And actually, as Andrew alluded to, when you look back into 2023, he basically had a run of about 7 games where he started and he got 12 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. So it's definitely a bit hit and miss. I wouldn't like to say it's completely over because I do think that they have got winnable games that are coming up. I personally feel that a lot of this is going to hinge on the defense and whether they can sort that defense out and get it to become a much stronger unit than what it currently is. Obviously, that feels like it's going to be difficult, but you've got a new coordinator. Sometimes it takes a few weeks for the ideas to really come in and maybe it will change it a little bit. So I do feel like there are possibilities that it could work for them, but it's going to be tough because at the end of the day, you're never going to be able to replace Joe Burrow. Like you're not going to be able to go out and trade. You're not going to be able to go and get yourself a free agent that's going to replicate what Joe Burrow can do. And so because of that, to a certain degree, not that there's no point getting anyone, but there's no point trying to replicate that. You just got to deal with it. And I actually think that what they've got with Browning is actually probably the closest that they're going to be able to get to replicate it, because he is a bit of a gunslinger and he will throw it around a lot, and he's going to, hyper target Jamar Chase, and you just got to rely on these weapons, and you've got to rely on Chase Brown to be able to get things moving a little bit better as well, and hope that O-line can somehow come together, because it hasn't really done Joe Burrow any favours. So you do worry that it might be a similar story for Browning coming up in the next few weeks. But yeah, I think there's still hope that the season isn't done. But I think the idea of them being like a top 1-2 team, the idea of being able to win this division, feels a little bit like it's going to be difficult to keep the pace that they've set already.
Because they are top of the division currently, aren't they? They're in a position where they could do well, where they were in a position, so before Burrow goes down, and if they won this game, where you suddenly go, the Bengals are back. We discussed about it in the preseason of what they need to improve on. Yeah, this was a bit of a to and fro game, but I thought the Bengals defense looked a damn sight better than they have done in a lot of last season, and even in the first game, they were decent in the first game. I thought they were a lot better against this Jacksonville Jaguars team, who have come out the blocks fighting as well. The Jags were really good week one as well. What does help Jay Browning considerably, Andrew, is he does walk into a situation with, as Adam alluded to, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Mike Gesicki, Noah Fant, Chase Brown, who's great in the backfield. He's got a plethora of talent in front of him, and it already showed when he came in this game. He's going to be able to utilize that. But Adam's point is correct as well. Is it going to be a case where suddenly it's Jamar Chase, and it gets a bit predictable? Do you think he's going to be allowed or take the initiative to use this whole talent tree that there is at the Cincinnati Bengals? Because that's the thing that we've never doubted about the Bengals. They've got talent on this offense.
Well, I actually think it makes them less predictable than when they've got Joe Burrow, because I'm finding at the minute with when they play Joe Burrow, they go, it's all on him. It's the Joe Burrow show. We let him do what he wants. They seem to play him out of the shotgun 24/7. He doesn't seem to be under center. I find that they're very predictable. It's probably one of the reasons that he is injured. I think they all know it's Joe Burrow, shotgun, throwing the ball to Jamar Chase. And I think now that they've got Jake Brown in there, maybe they do start to play him under center, use Chase Brown a bit more, bit of that sort of play action will be more enforced, and maybe they won't be as predictable as the Joe Burrow show, which he's going to throw the ball. So maybe this does help them slightly change their identity a little bit. And it leads us all the way back to the preseason hot takes from you, Fred, where you said Zac Taylor's on the hot seat. Well, now he's got the chance to prove himself. We did say we don't think he'd be on the hot seat because, if the offense is good, then Joe Burrow is obviously playing well. And we did say if he gets injured, then he'll just use that as an excuse. But he's got a chance to prove himself that he's more than just the Joe Burrow show. And if he can really use Jake Browning and change it up and do something different and make it work and look good on that offense, then he's got a chance to show you, Fred, and the others that were doubting him that he shouldn't be on the hot seat. He can get it done, and he is good. But I think it makes him less predictable having him under center.
Yeah, you're not wrong there with my takes. So before, one of my bold takes before the season started was that Zac Taylor could be one of the guys on the hot seat, and you're exactly right. If he can prove that he can utilize Jake Brown in the right way and change up this offense a little bit to be outside of Joe Burrow's capabilities, then he should be keeping the job, shouldn't he? Like it's going to be positive for him moving forward. Adam and Andrew said he reckons there's about 6 games in here that they could win. Like if you went from date to date, really, December 14th, week 15 against the Baltimore Ravens, they are hosting. They're hosting the Baltimore Ravens. That's when he could be back for. So the breakdown of it is they're at Minnesota, they're at Denver, they host Detroit, they're at Green Bay, They host the Steelers, they host the Jets, they host the Bears. There's the bye week. They're then at the Steelers, host the Patriots, at the Ravens, at the Bills. Are you seeing 6 wins in that? Because as I'm rattling them off, I don't.
I think it's as I said, a lot of this is going to really be about whether or not the defense can get it together. So I think if the defense can get it together, then that will really help. When you, like you say, when you look at the schedule, the Vikings away, I mean, the performance that the Vikings showed on Sunday Night Football was pretty poor, and
both games, I say, they were pretty poor in
yeah, they weren't great. They weren't great against the Bears for a lot of it, and then it all sort of clicked for a little bit. So it's really going to be about, do we suddenly believe that Carson Wentz is going to be great? I mean, he hasn't played for a long time, so you kind of feel like it becomes almost like a 50-50 shot, so they have a chance in that game. Personally, I don't like him against the Broncos. I know that the Broncos defense didn't stop the Colts, but I just feel like the Broncos are defensively better. The Lions will beat them. The Packers will beat them. The Steelers, I think, at home against the Steelers, I mean, again, we saw on Sunday that the Steelers defense wasn't fantastic, wasn't the same Steelers defense as what we've seen over the years. And the offense is okay, but it's kind of doing what I would expect it to do if the Steelers defense was much better. And it kind of feels like it almost needs a bit more. So I think they have a chance in that game. I think the Jets, they've got a chance. I think the Bears, they've got a chance. You play the Steelers again, obviously in Pittsburgh, so you feel unlikely. The Patriots haven't been great, so that's 5.
And then the 3 last games. Miami, Arizona, Cleveland.
Yeah, Miami, Arizona, and Cleveland. If he is back,
Burrow's meant to be back, is what I'm saying.
If he's back for them games, then there's 8 wins because they're better than Miami, they're better than Arizona, and they're better than Cleveland.
You can't tell me 8 wins is going to get them into the playoffs.
They've already got 2.
They've got 2 though, haven't they? So you got 10.
That's 10 wins. 10 wins should get you a wild card.
I think I'm not saying it's a dead cert. I'm really not. A lot of them games that I say with Browning there become 50-50s.
Yeah. We're talking before we've seen them play with him, but
there's the potential is there, is what I'd say.
Does this all, though, speak to a bit of a wider issue with the Cincinnati Bengals? I pulled something from an article earlier, which unfortunately I can't remember I would love to attribute it to whoever it was. But in 2021, Burrow led the league with 51 sacks taken in ensuing postseason. He endured 19 sacks, the most ever taken by a quarterback in a single playoff run, that including 7 sacks in the Super Bowl 56, which the Bengals ultimately lost. And it's an issue that we've gone back to a few times. They paid T. Higgins, they paid Jamar Chase. We went round the circus with Trey Hendrickson over the offseason. Yes, they brought in a few pieces for their O-line over the years, but it's not stayed stable and good enough. I mean, doesn't this speak to the wider issue? If you've got someone like Joe Burrow, who is now clearly is an injury prone, it's got to be an injury prone tag. It's not been talked about, but he is injury prone. And that's not talked about at all, that he's a quarterback that doesn't complete a lot of full seasons. And for someone of his talent level, he needs to be starting for this team, and they need him starting for the team as well, as much as they can. Though they may believe in Jake Browning all they want, he isn't Joe Burrow. But surely this is now an injury-prone tag for him, Andrew. And surely in the building they need to be going, we need to get, we've the last 3 or 4 years, we've tried to improve getting better at protecting Joe, but we're not. We're just simply not.
Well, this is the topic I wanted to get to when we first started talking about them. Who is to blame for him keep getting injured? Is it the fact that the O-line's just bad and they haven't invested enough in the O-line and it's breaking down and not protecting him well enough and he's getting hit a lot? Is it Joe Burrow's fault for holding onto the ball too long and, not distributing it quick enough and waiting for the plays and trying to be a hero and getting hit himself? Or is it the coaching scheme and the design plays, which, as I said, are very predictable? He's always out the shotgun. What's he going to do? I think he's throwing the ball. It pretty much takes the running back out of the equation, and that's the case. So my question out to you guys is, which one of those 3 things do you blame for why he keeps getting injured?
Can I like properly sit on the fence here?
Oh, great.
No, there's no sitting on the fence on this show. Come on.
So it's really difficult to boil it down to one thing. I don't think Joe Burrow is the problem. I think I've seen basically that's what I'm doing. I've seen, we've seen enough, haven't we, over the years that he's not the problem. So I don't feel like they've invested enough in the O-line. And I think that's a real issue. I mean, your left guard is a third round rookie. I would argue that's a problem.
Yeah, but then you drafted Amarius Mims in the first round only a handful of years ago. You brought in Orlando Brown, who's deemed one of the best left tackles going in the league. You brought in Ted Karras, who is a veteran center, has played on multiple good teams. Dalton Reisner from Minnesota, always a solid guard as well. All right, you're not putting millions, I admit, into that, but names on a piece of paper, that's experience there, Adam.
But that's 4 guys. You need like 8.
Well, they had Patrick Lucas as well, didn't they? So, or Lucas Patrick, didn't they? So,
Alex Kappa for the minute.
Yeah, but these
on IR.
Yeah, I feel like I know, but he would be within the room, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of these guys are guys that have played at other teams and not been fantastic, though. Like I understand, like Amarius Mims, obviously they drafted him; he was a first round. But even when I remember us talking about Amarius Mims, and we came out and said that he was a project, didn't we?
Oh,
we weren't saying
talent. He's
real
an absolute
raw
beast monster. That's just he could be incredible.
Yeah, but not the sort of guy that you want for the finished article. And when you've got a quarterback like you have, who's basically ready to go. You don't want to start bringing in projects as your right tackle.
We've not seen teams like when the Chiefs got battered that year when it was like O-line was just terrible, and they went and spent loads of money. The Bears this offseason couldn't protect Caleb Williams, went and spent loads of money. They've not done that necessarily, have they?
No, and I think that they're suffering because of that. However, what was the other one? Because it's the other one as well, the coaching.
Well, yeah, it's the play calling and the coaching.
The play calling.
They just literally always out the shotgun. We know what he's going to do. He's going to be throwing the ball. Like, are they not setting it up to have more success and stay healthier, give him more options?
I think if we can work that out, I'm assuming that the people who work in the NFL should have a fairly decent chance of working it out. And like you say, he is in shotgun a lot. You are waiting for your wide receiver to be able to separate and to be able to create room. And it is a case of that the defense can kind of just stick on man. And if they can cover it, then it's not a problem. So you are waiting a long time to get the ball out. So that does become a bit of an issue for them. So I do feel like it's a bit of both, but I personally feel like they just haven't invested enough in this O-line.
Well, hopefully we'll see some pretty good performances from Jake Browning moving forward in the next couple of months. And we do wish Joe Burrow all the best in the world to get back healthy and to get back and be the starting quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. This game is completely dominated by great quarterbacks. And that's what we want. We want to see the best quarterbacks because ultimately we get the best football. And that's all that the fans and ourselves, that's all we want to see. So we wish Joe all the best of luck in the world to get back as soon as he can.